Where does that leave Piñera? And where does that leave Chile? We got some insight from the people living right on the ground. I spoke with Dr. Kirsten Sehnbruch from her office in Santiago, where she works on economics and public policy. What would you say right now is the overall feeling, the sentiment in Chile when it comes to, economics, politics? Hopeful, worried? What is it?
I think uncertainty is the right term. Most people feel rather uncertain that an election which they felt able to predict fairly easily has suddenly gone into a completely different direction than expected. And also there is some degree of concern because the new political and election system has created a parliament which is much more fragmented than anything we've ever had before.
Is there a concern there that we're seeing things fracture?
I think we've been through at least 10 years now of relatively fractured politics, but it could get more fractured at the moment. That is something that has me personally concerned. But on the other hand, given the current situation, if a right-wing government were to be elected, that didn't take into the account the tremendous inequalities that Chileans face every day, it would probably mean that that government would lose control of the streets, and that creates even more instability.
The economy we're seeing it slow. What's the feeling there? Will this push people more to the middle to say, let's double down on what has worked in the past, or will it turn people to these polar opposites that say, I have the solution for you, and it's this, and it's extreme?
On the one hand, this is still a natural resource dependent country, almost entirely. And so whenever commodity prices are lower, its growth rate suffers, and therefore also the fiscal resources suffer. And that creates a big, it's like driving a Porsche with the brakes on, in the sense that the country can't develop its full potential. It is actually one of the countries that is most being affected by climate change. And therefore, with water shortages widespread throughout the country, this is also a very, very significant brake on economic growth, because you have different economic sectors rivaling for water rights, very often also against the people that they employ. So you have many divided towns where an employer needs water, but the population also needs water to live on, and there just isn't enough to go around.
If we were to take the temperature of the Chilean population, right direction, wrong direction at this point, where do you think it'd fall?
Right direction. And it's important to know here that even if the centre-right government or the centre-right candidate wins, the government here will always be centre-left, basically because the centre-right does not dominate the Congress. They have no majority in either the lower house or the upper house. And so that really limits the extent to which they can create a system that would distribute less or cut social services, etc. So I think in that sense we can also be quite confident.